Welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Pull up a chair and kick up your feet as you get ready to enjoy some of the industry's most entertaining and actionable Dynasty content on the planet. We're talking veterans, rookies, sleepers, and oh yeah, you know the crew has those dad jokes ready for you. So let's not wait any longer and bring on the host or some combination of Doug, James, and Tyler.
Welcome into the Dynasty Happy Hour. It is episode 385, and I am your host this evening. Doug's taking the week off, and you're stuck with Tyler and I. Tyler, what's going on?
Nothing. I'm excited for tonight's episode. There's nothing funner for me to kind of go over the landscape of quarterbacks because, like this year we had about 50, I think it was close to 50 starters.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to kind of go over and see what we might be able to go, like even backups. Like we're looking at handcuffing quarterbacks now in Superflex League. So it'll be fun.
As Tyler alluded to, it is going to be a great episode. We're going over the 2024 quarterback landscape, utilizing early January ADP. We're going to talk about the potential QB carousel that's going to be happening in the next couple of months. And we'll get into some news right before that. But first, we'd like to thank you. If you've liked and subscribed on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Leave a review. And if not, you can check us out every Tuesday night here at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. I'm always screwed up with the time zones. I still don't know how it's only 8 o'clock where Tyler lives.
James still thinks it's 2008.
Yeah, there's no time zones.
No time zones.
It's just the East Coast, baby. That's how I roll. But we would like to thank our sponsor, Underdog, playing the best daily best ball on the best. I'm destined for failure, I guess.
Keep going. I believe
daily Pickens, daily Pick'ems. Jesus,
you got Arthur Smith on the mind.
Yeah, right.
Just go to Underdog, click DHH. You get your
$100 match right away.
Dude,
they have so many fun games. They have the pick'ems, as I said, and I jumbled and I messed up. That Doug likes. You get to pick 3 to 6 players. If they all hit, you win big. I like to play best ball daily. So for those playoffs, for the Super Bowl, you can play best ball and pick a certain amount of players on each team and have at it, win some money. But use code DHH and get yourself matched up to $100 right away. All right,
you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for some not player news. All right, you've already talked about it. Atlanta, obviously we know Arthur Smith is out the door, and they go out and hire Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert.
He's old enough to be head coach. That is for sure.
He's about like 2 years younger than Raheem Morris.
Yeah.
Lots of moves going on. We had Jim Harbaugh land in LA with the Chargers. Dave Canales hired as the Panthers head coach, leaving only 2 teams currently without a head coach. That's the Seahawks and the Commanders. We know Dan Quinn just finished his second interview with the Washington Commanders tonight.
God, no.
And it could happen. Bill Belichick still not hired, and he probably won't. But the Seahawks, I mean, Mike Vrabel is still there, and we know for a fact that some OCs that were in DCs that were going for jobs just are staying put, like Bobby Slowick staying with the Texans as OC, Ben Johnson staying with the Detroit Lions, who just lost this past weekend. And then we have Arthur Smith, who lands the new DC job in Pittsburgh.
OC. I mean, he could be DC.
OC.
Because he helps other teams. But
OC, DC.
So, I do want to go over this. I was thinking about this tonight, and offensive coordinators staying with their jobs. If they start getting $8 million a year, I could see them staying at their job. Like Vic Fangio got $10 million per year in Miami, and they cut him. If offensive coordinators start getting 10 to 12, we could see a movement where offensive coordinators like, hey, I'm having success here. I'm getting almost as much as a head coach. Why not? Like, just stay here. I don't have the responsibility of a head coach. I can take this offense that I know is succeeding. But then you got the mentality of like, hey, you could be an NFL head coach. there's only 32 of those jobs in the world. So maybe, but I think we're seeing these young offensive coordinators stay just due to maybe not being ready. Maybe the fearfulness of them not succeeding, and then going back.
that makes a lot of sense. Like
Joe Brady.
especially Joe Brady staying with the Bills. Makes a lot of sense. Ben Johnson, most importantly, they took the past couple of years and they have been building this offense. They know where it is now. They have all the pieces in place. They were a Super Bowl contender, and in my opinion, they beat themselves that second half of the game on Sunday, and they should have been into the Super Bowl, but they did not do that. But I think Ben Johnson makes the right decision here and just stays with the team. There's always going to be movement around the league this year, more so than ever. And you have coaches like we mentioned, Bill Belichick not getting hired so far. But then you have OCs like Kellen Moore, who just got signed with the Eagles, who's going to take on another offensive coordinator job. So,
yeah, I mean, just these retreads. The Eagles are going to look completely different and hopefully for the better. But Kellen Moore's offense did not look good this year. So I'm a little worried about that offense.
A lot of broken pieces in that offense as far as injuries this year.
That is true. I want to go to Raheem Morris.
Sure.
Going on the offensive side, I'm not worried. He is a leader of men, and I think he learned a lot through his path. He was Tampa Bay's head coach Tampa Bay's head coach did not do good. Then he went to Atlanta, and then he was the interim for Atlanta after Dan Quinn got fired. So Atlanta was defeated. They're 0-4. He comes in. He wins 4 games. So it's not crazy to think he's learned a lot from Sean McVay, with his players. But the biggest thing for me is he brought over Zach Robinson, quarterback's coach from the Rams, and this is what we want completely to see. We want to see that Rams offense instilled in this offense. So Bijan, we could see Kyron Williams like numbers. Like Tyler Algier will definitely sub in here and there, but if he brings that LA offense, that running back is getting used, and he is going to get used a lot.
Great for the pass catchers as well.
Yep, they got a number 1 target always, and it's Cooper Kupp, Puka. So Drake London, here we go. You're going to get moved around. They're going to use him to his best abilities. Awesome. Kyle Pitts. Tyler Higbee is literally 20% of Kyle Pitts athletically. If they can unlock Kyle Pitts, maybe even move him around as a big slot guy, that's wheels up. The only thing missing, a quarterback. Now, we're going to go over the quarterback landscape, and hopefully we can maybe find a quarterback here and there for them. But this is great news. And Zach Robinson is young enough and kind of unknown enough that he isn't going to leave somewhere next year. He should be staying put. And like I said about the offensive coordinators, we could see a movement where they just stay, where they're succeeding, and they get comfortable, and they just like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. I mean, we're in an offseason where there's 2 teams left, which Mike McDonald will probably be one of them.
Yeah,
DC for the Ravens, who very deserving. I thought he did very well this year, and I actually wanted Atlanta to take him.
Really?
Yes, him or Bobby Slowick. But I'm actually very happy with the way he built the coaches. He took a lot of the Rams people and brought them over. So
you always like to see that.
Yes. So I'm very excited for that, and I'm excited for the season. But going for quarterbacks, Jim Harbaugh. This may not help anybody but Herbert, because Harbaugh is a great quarterbacks type coach. He was a quarterback, but when he was a San Fran, people are like, oh, he's a quarterback whisperer. He can bring a good offense. Everywhere he went, the defense succeeded insanely. Like, the defense was what they're known about, running the ball and defense. So with Herbert, we could see more of a West Coast style offense, but more of what we want to see from Herbert. They're going to build off the play action. So I like this move. Harbaugh, I think, is going to bring the best out of Herbert no matter what. And I think that's the main reason why he chose this job, is because Herbert. Yeah. So I like that fit. Dave Canales, he's getting a lot of help. Everything I'm seeing is he's
bringing over the whole crew from Tampa Bay.
Yes, and he's going to be calling plays, but he's also getting help with the head coach. Like, he's bringing in help for himself. I'm not sure I like that. I thought
assistant head coach.
Yeah, well, I mean, like an advisor almost, because he's new, he's younger.
Mm-hmm.
he has had succession with a lot of smaller quarterbacks, Russ Wilson, Baker. So,
but not quite as small as
Bryce Young.
Bryce.
We will see. I did not see this hire happening, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Bill Belichick, he's not going to get hired. We talked about the Eagles. Bobby Solk staying with the Texans. I think he'll be there for at least 2 more years.
Yeah, I love that they retain both their offensive and defensive coordinators in Houston.
And low-key, Ken Dorsey going to the Browns, love it. I think that is very underrated because Ken Dorsey was the whistleblower, kind of the guy that, like, hey, we got rid of this guy just to have a fall guy. That's what he was. He was the fall guy for the Bills when they were in their slump. The offense started picking up. The running game started picking up. But when Dorsey was there, the pass game was infinite. And that's what we want to see. So,
wheels up for Amari Cooper.
That, I think,
Deshaun Watson, a glimpse of hope.
We might have a slight up for Tillman, the receiver, and Elijah Moore. I think Njoku is going to be sound. He's going to keep rolling. But I do think that, if Chubb comes back and Ford, we are going to see the running game not be what the Browns used to be. We're going to see a different Browns offense, and I think it's good for Watson. I know Doug said he's not touching him. I am looking at him in a different light a little bit, but
if it dips a little bit more, I might go ahead and dip my foot in the pool. But yeah, this sounds good. I like it for the air game in Cleveland.
Yes.
We got a little bit of player news, not too much more to go over. Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson underwent a successful surgery on his torn ACL on Monday. That's good to know. He'll be back for next season at some point. Steelers owner Art Rooney said the team's hopes to re-sign QB Mason Rudolph this offseason. Now, I want to pause here real fast because, we're going to be talking about quarterbacks, and it's not going to be Kenny Pickett.
No, and it shouldn't be. Honestly, I don't think it should be Rudolph either. They should look elsewhere. What screams a Tomlin guy? Justin Fields. I'd love Justin Fields in Atlanta, but if he's not with Atlanta,
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk in Pittsburgh would be god awful. Kirk needs a dome.
Oh yeah, that's right. He doesn't play outside very well.
Kirk needs a dome, and I think that is going to be a huge thing.
He did it in Washington.
That's why I think Kirk in Atlanta, because they had Matt Stafford, an older quarterback, they succeeded with him. Kirk in Atlanta could be a major option. So that's a dark horse for me, but I would put money on him staying in Minnesota. I was talking to somebody, and all he wants is like 45, 47 mil a year. That's Daniel Jones money. And he wants it all guaranteed. Fine with me. Better than going out and searching elsewhere. Don't go that route. And Minnesota has opportunity. They could bring Cousins in for 2 years and then draft J.J. McCarthy as a guy because he needs a sit. I low-key really like McCarthy this offseason. He's a guy with athletic ability. He's not quite there mentally. I do think he needs a year. Reminds me a lot of what Jordan Love was. He needs a year or two just to sit and mentally be able to get the offense under him. So Atlanta has a lot of options, but Kirk is going to be very interesting this offseason.
Yeah, I like Kirk, and I like the dip in value right now being injured. But there is some light shedding on that injury. He's recovering from his torn Achilles and will begin throwing in the next month or so. Reports coming out from Tom Pelissero and the NFL Network. That does it for the news. That's a lot. That's a lot to handle already. We're only 13 minutes in, and I'm done with news for at least a week. Anyway. But let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Trophy Smack. Get a customized trophy for your league. And, man, I'm telling you, if you look behind here. Oh, I can't see it. Hang on. Let me lift it up. And I hope you're watching on YouTube. It's the belt, baby. I should just bring it in, and just rock it over my shoulder.
That's an option.
Yeah, it definitely is on this show. But no, use code DHH Ring to get a $60 free championship ring with any order. Punch DHH Ring in the promo code and just add the ring to your order. Pick up your trophy for your league and get a ring for yourself, or get a ring for the winner of your league, or get a loser trophy.
Toilet seat.
Yeah, get a toilet seat to wrap, or I see that new flashy neon leotard running around social media. So whatever you want to do, buy a leotard, add the ring into your cart, put DHH ring in the promo, and get a free ring at checkout. Trophy Smack, the best trophies for fantasy football.
I was out with my wife, and we're going on our way to Costco, and there's a billboard, and it said, "This is what a fantasy football loser looks like." It's one of those video ones that flashes by, and it had a big arrow pointing. I thought it was an advertisement for Trophy Smack. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, locally, this is nuts. It was not.
Oh, no?
A group of friends actually paid for the advertisement and had this guy's picture because he lost the league. That was his punishment, losing the league.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it made my day. And I thought to myself, I need to step it up.
Yeah.
Like I need
but
to
I mean,
step it up.
if you post my picture in Minnesota, like I'm not going to be hurt.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's definitely
if you put it out here in Atlantic City, a lot of people are going to know my face. So it's not a good thing.
It's a local league. So yeah, this is fantastic. I absolutely
love
that.
It's a great idea. Great idea.
All right, ready to talk quarterbacks?
Yeah, we're going to get into the 2024 Dynasty QB landscape. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to utilize some DLF Superflex ADP for this exercise. And I'm excited, Tyler, because, I always do my homework, and it is looking like a great thing. Just to roll it out for those of you that don't know, can we just go through the top 5 first and then give our thoughts, 1 through 5?
Now we're doing ADP, right?
Yeah, we're doing ADP.
Yeah.
Obviously, the top 3 are pretty standard. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes as QB3, and that's ADP of about 3 overall in Superflex. But when we get to number 4 or 5, this is where it gets interesting. So at number 4, we had Lamar Jackson coming in here, 27 years old. Just got a new contract with the Ravens. Pretty much the league MVP, although has it been official? Is it official that he got MVP?
I mean, it's pretty much
it comes
cemented.
out this coming weekend, right? They give him the awards?
Yep. The awards will be right before the Super Bowl, so yeah.
Yeah, so Lamar Jackson at QB4, I don't know. I don't necessarily like number 4 for him. I mean, he's 1 year younger than Patrick Mahomes. He's tied to the offense that seems to be running the right way, except for the last week against Patrick Mahomes. I just think that Lamar Jackson puts out a bigger fantasy production season in, season out than Patrick Mahomes does. We kind of saw Patrick Mahomes sliding. I believe he finished QB8, QB9 this year.
He had an off year.
Season long. Yeah.
Yeah, he had an off year.
But then it raises the question, Tyler. I mean, Travis Kelce, if he wins the Super Bowl this year, does he retire? What do the Chiefs look like going into next season?
So if Kelce retires, I think that's actually a good thing for this offense because they can spend that money on a T. Higgins. They can get a higher profile free agent easier with the Kelce money that they will be saving. I think Josh Allen, well, let's go to the top. He should be one. I mean, he year after year, even on off weeks, I gave up, like we went over it, I gave up the farm for Josh Allen. And that's what you got to do. You got to give up the farm for him. And I still feel good with it. Like, yeah, I gave up, Jordan Love, who panned out to be really good. But did I know that? No. And at the time, Jordan Love's value was not where it's at. So, Josh Allen, to me, 1. My question is 2. I don't think Jalen Hurts is locked in at 2. I mean, the tush-push rule.
That's a fair assessment. And it was a down year for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. And
back half of the season, they were totally out of sync. He was sick. He was injured. The tush-push got him a lot of touchdowns.
That's what I'm talking about. And it's probably, there's going to be a new rule.
But I don't think that the tush-push itself made who Jalen Hurts was. Like, he did not do that. He didn't. That makes something big. But I another year of offensive coordinator changes makes me really worry a little bit about Jalen Hurts. And to be fair and honest, I would have him probably at 4 after the performance that he put on this year, Lamar Jackson doing what he did, MVP year, and then Patrick Mahomes, not having the offensive pieces around him, still makes it happen. He's going to turn Rashee Rice into a star. He's turned Pacheco into a star.
Well, Pacheco is that offense.
He is that star.
They're going through Pacheco, and they
were
changed
gashing 8 to 9 yards a carry with Pacheco.
So
and then CEH got 1 carry for 1 yard, and then they sat him down.
So for me, Hurts, if you are able to do Hurts and drop down to an Anthony Richardson plus, I'm game for that. Give me Richardson because I think they got the same upside. Yeah, Richardson's injury history, but we have a solidified offensive coach.
Mm-hmm.
The coach that actually turned Jalen Hurts into what he is. So
yeah,
I like doing that, kind of downgrading. Herbert, he's at quarterback 7. Give me Herbert plus, especially with Harbaugh there. I still have Herbert probably top 3 or 4.
Would you do the switch with Mahomes for Herbert? Because they're a little bit closer.
I honestly think I'd have Mahomes at 2 still.
Wow.
I think you're going to get a value with Mahomes, but Mahomes is still Mahomes. Yeah, he had some bad weeks this year, but this offense had to change on the fly. They had some bad weeks. Kelsey had some bad drops. Rashee Rice was coming into his own, and I do think they add to this offense. They know what they need, and they need playmakers to help Mahomes. They need speed and people that can actually catch. Yes, MBS, I'm looking at you. And Jameson Williams ain't it, and Josh Reynolds ain't it, so we can't look there, going back to the championship game. But yeah, Mahomes, I think is just fine. Lamar, I think, should be top 5. My definite questions are Tua, Burrow, Hurts, and maybe Dak at the top. Trevor Lawrence, of course, we've gone in length.
Yeah, we're bouncing all around for narrative purposes.
You might as well just go top 12, top 12 in ADP.
Yeah, we could do top 12 ADP.
Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud.
That's the one that sticks out the most to me, and I was trying to get it out. CJ Stroud over Burrow, Herbert, Prescott, Richardson.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I'm perfectly fine with it.
Stroud
in any
might be
sense.
top 3.
He's pushing the top. I want to say the top 4, and
With
that would
slow
move Jalen
extend,
Hurts
yeah,
down more because he's on an upswing. Jalen Hurts had kind of a neutral year in production, and even though the rushing touchdowns, they probably will never go away. We forget that he squats 600 pounds and he can run himself, and he had a down running year this year with the addition of DeAndre Swift, because last year they couldn't really run the ball with Miles Sanders, even though he had a career year and went into the dust.
Why not have Hurts next to Dak? I mean, they are almost the same type of player.
Well, the whole thing with Dak is I'm actually really down on Dak.
I mean, everybody
and which is not necessarily. I mean, he makes QB8. He makes QB8 here on ADP. He's still being drafted in the first round of Superflex leagues, 11 overall, and he's 30 years old. I don't understand. He's in the final year of a 4-year deal, $160 million deal that he signed back in 2020. Got paid big time, $126 million, and his contract stipulates that they cannot franchise tag him in 2025. So it's 2024, make it or break it. They have 1 year left to do it. I say get out early. He finished as the QB3 this season. Utilize those stats. Push it on your league mates. If you have Dak and you're not competing this year, cash in, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you could get the 102 for Dak, 103 for Dak, and maybe a little more added on, it might be okay to
get the
refresh,
102. I am definitely selling.
But 102 is Drake May, and we've seen.
Or I mean, I might if I don't need the quarterback per se. Like say I was competing and I picked up some younger guys. Say I drafted CJ Stroud last year, and have I had Jordan Love on my taxi squad and moved him up. Now I'm like, I really don't need another quarterback. I'm going to go Marvin Harrison and get my fantasy team a playmaker for decade.
Yeah, there's a good chance Marv week 1 has more value than Dak. 100%. Marv Harrison Jr. could have more value than Jamar Chase going into week 1. That's insane to think about, but that's the hype. That's where we're at.
It's been building for 3 years. So
yeah. And for me, Tua at quarterback 10, woof. Like, he had a great start. And then we saw when this offense started not being able to run the ball, Tua, when pressured, makes big time mistakes, and he relies too much on those playmakers. So what happens when Tyreek's gone? Because my real feelings on Jalen Waddle, I'm gonna be honest with you, he's not a premier wide receiver.
He's not.
He's a high-end wide receiver 2 for a team, but is he a wide receiver 1?
And he's been injured.
He's always injured, and for me, that too was the interesting part. And Trevor Lawrence, if we don't see it this year, his value is going to start slipping. We're going to start seeing him fall to where other players are that we will mention in a bit. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback 11, his quarterback drafted number 1 overall, the next poster boy, the next Jesus is coming type player. He hasn't panned out, but he's still got that value of that guy. So if you can cash in with him, I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah,
I still have hope in Trevor Lawrence. And maybe because I went out and purchased for a king's ransom last year. But
the real question is Joe Burrow as well.
Yeah,
are the injuries going to stop?
I guess the questions are, first and foremost, the injuries, like you just mentioned. But does T. Higgins stick around?
The OC's gone.
OC's gone now. So what's going to happen with this team? We may see a dip, but we already saw a dip. But he looked like he was coming before the second injury, the season-ending one. He looked like he was back 100%. But now, who knows? There's a lot of questions going around Joe Burrow. I think he's losing steam. I believe last year he was inside the top 5. Now CJ Stroud has capped him so far. And I think Anthony Richardson could do that as well and move up ahead of Joe Burrow just because of the rushing upside. Yeah. And we can't knock anybody for injury as much, but yeah, it's a problem. If you spent up on Joe Burrow, and obviously people still are drafting him 6 to 7 overall still in startup, like, you want that production. You have to rely on him to lead your team to glory. And it's getting harder and harder to trust that when he's injured as much as he has been.
Yeah. And with how many quarterbacks have started, I used to be a big, hey, get your studs at quarterback, get your young studs. Lately, every time I'm looking at rosters and I'm looking at championship teams, and they all have one thing in common. They got that one stud quarterback, a Josh Allen, and then they've got a guy like a Matt Stafford, Brock Purdy, a Jordan Love, somebody who came out of nowhere and their value goes up. But they also got studs at playmakers. They got a Bijan. They got studs at receiver. And it's
Brees Hall. Yeah,
they got Brees Hall. And I mean,
we're naming Doug's team here.
In a startup, I am not touching running backs in a startup until later rounds. But
no.
The receivers are a huge thing. If you have those 2 quarterbacks that are starting and getting you 15 plus points in a Superflex league, your wheels up, because your playmakers are going to do the rest. So if you got a Justin Jefferson and say on the back end you get a Kyler Murray who isn't as valued as he was 3 years ago, that could be a route. Like, there's so many quarterbacks that we like, and there's 3 more, possibly 4, coming in this draft that we are valuing high. I like Drake May. Jane Daniels has major upside. Caleb Williams is literally a first-round startup pick. He's like quarterback 6 going off the board right now in startups. Quarterback 6, like, you're paying for his upside already, and he's right there with Stroud almost. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of quarterbacks, but looking at it with how many younger quarterbacks we're having coming in, and the older vets staying a little longer, like Stafford and Kirk Cousins, that's always a plus. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, you got him for 1 or 2 more years. That's fine. Daniel Jones is very underrated. We haven't talked about him. They seem.
I don't know if I want to.
I mean, what do you have to pay? You don't have to give up what you had to this offseason.
Yeah.
So looking at values like that, look at Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was going for a second rounder. He was a throw-in that Josh Allen trade, and I did not want to give him up because I still thought Baker could revive his career, and he did. Now he's probably going to get a 3-year, 4-year contract with the Buccaneers, and it's all because he just found the right offense.
That makes sense.
Now, let's talk
I really want to talk about Justin Fields.
He is interesting.
Because he's hard, because I can see his career going two ways. One, very, very well. And two, kind of like slipping off earlier than Cam Newton did. And
yeah, I mean, Cam Newton fell at, 29, 30 years old?
Yeah, and obviously Justin Fields is, 24?
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen right away, but, there's a lot of news coming in saying that he's possibly going to Atlanta. You mentioned it yourself. Do you think Atlanta trades up and gets Justin Fields?
Well, I don't think they'd have to give up 8. They'd probably have to give up a second, which it's an early second. So the Bears can recoup their early second-round pick they gave for Sweat, which was a good trade. They actually gave up a second-rounder for a good player, unlike Chase Claypool. So it was a very good trade for them. But if they can recoup that second for more options in the draft, I think that's what they would look at. Because the thing is, if Fields was a year-one drafted player, maybe they could get a first-round pick. But the fact that the team who trades for him is going to have to give him $35 to $45 million a year in a contract extension after this year of playing, that's what makes his value lower. So if he goes to Atlanta, that's fine. I'm not sure he fits in the offensive scheme of Zach Robinson. We've seen Matt Stafford succeed big time with this. That's why I think Kirk Cousins, maybe they hold off and they draft J.J. McCarthy and they trade back, or they trade back into the first round. Maybe that's the route they go. I'm not sure how he fits in with the offense, but hey, if you got a player like Fields, you build an offense around him. You hear that, Bears? You build an offense around him. So I actually think Fields is a better player than what we've seen throwing the ball. We've seen prolific plays in Ohio State. Yeah, he had all these receivers, but he played very well. He's a great deep ball thrower, and they never gave him those options in Chicago. They did, but they never gave him actual check down options when they did it. If you watch the quarterback school, I forgot the guy's name, and if you watch his YouTube channel, he goes over and says the offensive play call early on in the season was god awful. The plays he didn't even know, and they didn't put Fields in a good place. Fields in Atlanta with those options, and I think with a competent offense, could succeed. Do I want to see it? I'm not sure. I would like to see Atlanta trade up for Drake May. Yes, I would love that, especially with this offense. But we'll see. Fields is definitely going to be a landing spot in what that team does if they even give him an extension right away. So what I want from Fields.
I have two spots. One is obviously Atlanta.
Yeah.
And the other is Seattle.
That's not bad, but Geno, I think
I know Geno has 1 year left. Now you think about it. Pete Carroll, not the head coach anymore. Love Geno Smith. All right, new coach. Things could change. Hey, they want to make, just like Atlanta, they want to make a spark with the coaching staff. They want to make a spark with their quarterback.
Yeah, we still got to see who the coaching staff is.
Yeah, well, we don't know yet, which makes it a little bit more interesting. And I think they have the draft capital where, they could say, we'll move up we'll give you this 16th, move down from 9, flip picks. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not good with trading in the NFL, but
so I would not like that because
you don't want Fields to be around. You have to wait. Yeah,
you'd have to wait. And right now, you're paying at quarterback 12 prices, so you're buying him starting. That's what we're at right now with ADP. So if you draft him at 12,
not buying.
So honestly, he's going to start somewhere. That's where he's going. The Bears, they're going to take Caleb Williams. I don't think they're as cruel as a team to send him somewhere where it's like, hey, good luck. You're not starting. Have fun. I think.
Do you think they retain? Do you retain him for a year?
Who, the Bears?
Yeah.
No. I
mean,
think
they could.
they'll do right by him and they'll trade him. Now, we've seen this with the Cardinals. Cardinals had the first pick. They traded Josh Rosen. Now the thing is with Josh Rosen, he sucked. Like, we did not see anything from Rosen. So I don't think it's that type of situation. I think it's different. We've seen from Fields, and I think people in the NFL do see Fields as a superstar quarterback. He's just built a little different. But, for Fields, it's landing spot dependent. But what I want to see is a team give him an extension. That's what I want to see. I want to see a team commit to him before I'm locked in and be like, this guy is a top 8 dynasty quarterback.
And that's the whole problem. Like, we don't know that. And his value can only go up if that happens. When a team commits to him, everybody's going to want him. And I'm not ready to pay QB8 pricing. I'm really not. I wouldn't pay it for Dak. I'm not going to pay it for Justin Fields, who is semi unproven.
So going down the list, Fields or Kyler? Kyler's right behind him.
I still say Fields has more potential
for the youth, but if Kyler gets Marv or a Neighbors,
he could have a resurrection in his career.
And I think we've seen that. Like,
we're waiting for it. we're just sitting here waiting for it. We saw it with Trey McBride and how much he could with younger stars and without recycled players out on the perimeter. I think Kyler is going to be good.
Fields had nobody, and then he gets DJ Moore, and he's producing. Kyler had nobody.
Got D-Hop, did well.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan Love, I think I'm looking at Jordan Love over Fields. I probably have Love right next to Kyler.
If Love gets the contract that you think that he is going to get, like a 4 to 5 year deal, then yes, I will agree with you. He is still right now of value in Dynasty outside the top 12, sitting at QB 14, ADP of around 18 or 19 overall.
Time to buy was last year. And I told you guys to do that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, and you could say the same thing about the guy right behind him in Brock Purdy.
Oh, I'm taking Purdy over Fields.
But like the one that hurts me, like, is the Jared Goff, no respect ever, QB 17 behind Deshaun Watson. It just makes my skin curl.
Yeah. I mean,
it just doesn't make sense.
I would Goff over Tua.
Yeah. 100%. He's a better quarterback than Tua.
Why wouldn't you? And this offense is staying together. Like, Ben Johnson, in order for him to get a good head coaching job, I mean, let's look at coaches next year. The Steelers, maybe, because Tomlin's on the hot seat. I'm not sure.
Well, that's why they went out and got Arthur Smith. He's going to replace Tomlin next year.
But, I mean, you look at Seattle. He had a chance to go to Seattle. He had a chance to go to the Commanders and pick his own quarterback, and he decided no. He said no, thank you. Got it. He went back to the Lions. I would not be shocked if they restructure his contract to give him more money, just like Slowick did. Like I said, like, we could see these offensive coordinators just staying put. And he's young enough to where maybe in his late 40s he becomes a head coach, and he's just so good. Like, how many times did Kyle Shanahan kind of just keep being an OC? Mm-hmm. Shanahan kept
he bounced around for a long time before he landed the head coach.
And then after Atlanta, after making Matt Ryan the MVP, he's like, okay, I'm ready. Like, that could be the route, and I'm
watch out if that happens.
Yeah. So I mean,
some of these lower quarterbacks are interesting. You touched on Daniel Jones. We touched a little bit on Geno Smith, and I'm looking like back-to-back are Bryce Young and Kirk Cousins right after Jared Goff. And personally, I probably want it's close. I definitely want Jared Goff over Bryce Young right now.
You're looking at it,
but I kind of want Kirk Cousins too.
Well, that's the thing. Kirk, we look at it as like, oh, he's got 1 or 2 more years left. Kirk could play into his 40s. I mean, we've seen what he does to get ready for the season. He could have 4 more years.
I mean, everybody would agree with me if I turn around and say, yeah, I want Kirk Cousins over Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
And they're the same age, 35.
Yeah. It feels like Stafford's been in the league for like 40
so
years.
Much longer. Well, I mean, I'm sure they've been in the league the same amount of time, but Stafford, number 1 as a baby. Number 9 overall pick, yada, yada, yada.
No, number 1 overall pick.
Oh, well, his number's 9.
Yeah, and like looking at Baker, it all depends on the contract, but I mean, Baker was a guy that was in the 20s or 30s for quarterbacks. So let's go down the list and look at these.
Let's pick some winners here, some
Let's try to
diamonds.
figure out. And I'm looking at one. I mean, our team's going to go
How far are we looking down here?
I'm going to quarterback 40, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wow.
I think Jimmy G might have a resurgence somewhere.
No.
I was talking to somebody here. I said, hey, if they got to pay Jefferson $32 to $35 million a year and they can't afford Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G at like 20 to 25.
If we're looking to make an ROI, return on investment, my pick would be QB 33, and that's Mason Rudolph.
Mine's right behind you. And I'm
Jake
pretty
Browning.
Sure,
yeah.
And I think Doug is too. Jake Browning could find himself as a starter in the league. Like we're Denver Broncos. If they trade Russ or cut him, they eat that cap. They can't afford a major signing. They would have to go cheap. And that's why Jared Stidham could be an option. I mean, if you got Jared Stidham and he's a cut candidate, because I know rosters you got to cut and stuff, don't do it right now. Just hang on. Rudolph, same thing. Just hang on for a little bit, see what happens. He could sign a 2-year deal just to kind of see what goes on. Kind of like Baker. Baker got a 1-year deal. Daniel Jones, I think, has fallen off the face of the earth. And I think.
What about Mac Jones?
Mac Jones, we've heard rumors that they could take Marv at 3 and just roll with Mac. I don't think that's a good idea because I think Mac's personality is what kills him.
I don't think he's got the offensive speed down for the NFL. I just don't think so.
I don't think it's that. I think it's an attitude thing.
Oh, really? Well, I mean,
if you've
Callahan,
worked with, if you guys remember,
Bo Callahan, he took the $100 bill.
Yeah, he took the 100. Mac took the 100, and bought that suit in the draft. If you saw it, it was not tailored. Mac Jones did not tailor his suit. Aiden O'Connell at quarterback 29 could be one of those people. Like
sneaky, yeah,
sneaky could be a starter. Maybe not. This offseason could be.
Is the Sam Howell project over? QB 30. I think I would still have him over Kenny Pickett.
I mean, yeah, I think Kenny Pickett should be down. Ryan Tannehill could find a job, but I doubt it. We're looking at guys like Desmond Ridder. I think he's done. Jameis, I still feel like deserves a job. That could be somebody like Baker. He's still like 28
I said it last
years old.
season too. Like
Jameis is still like 28 years old.
No, he's 30. Let's get it right.
Is he?
Yeah, he's 30 years old.
There's no way he's 30.
Yeah, dude, he's 30, man.
Oh,
he's a year older than Mitchell Trubisky, believe it or not.
He just celebrated his birthday on the 4th of January, so. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of these quarterbacks, and we're talking about backup quarterbacks that you should pick up. Josh Dobbs.
Bailey Zappi? No? Yes, no.
No, we've seen enough.
Yeah.
We have seen enough of Zap. Oh God, like for me, even Trey Lance.
I was gonna say Trey Lance is interesting after the conversation that I just had about Dak Prescott, like just sitting behind Dak, but they weren't even dressing him. Like he was third string,
and I think for a good reason. For me, that's the main thing. He needs to sit.
And if he does need to sit, then he's going to be a glorified backup. All right. I don't think that he's the future of any franchise. And I mean, yeah, his value is rock bottom. You could probably go and scoop him up if you want to take a second, like a chance on him, a second chance on him. But I'm not going to go out there and spend more than a 4th round pick, late third at best.
I completely agree. So for me, if you're going late, are you done with Russ?
I'm not going out there and acquiring him.
I think
he didn't do anything this year that made me want to say I'm going to go and try to buy low and see if it helps. He's on the back half of his career. It looks like he's lost a step. His deep ball actually looked decent, but it's all the intermediate route stuff that he used to do with like Tyler Lockett running across the seam or Doug Baldwin running across the seam. It doesn't look like it's going to continue in Denver, and I think the leash is very short. and Sean Payton's going to yank it sooner rather than later.
Wait, what is he going to do?
He's going to yank it, the leash.
So
yank his chain? No.
I think the biggest boom bust of this whole group, he's right there on the fringe. Quarterback
He's right next to boom bust Daniel Jones. So
quarterback 22, Will Levis. I think he gets a chance. He'll be the starter. Callahan's the new head coach. He did wonders with Browning. He did great with Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he called plays in Cincy. He might have after Taylor kind of resigned them when they're on a slump. I'm not sure. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and say he was the play caller or anything. But Will Levis in a new offense.
Strong arm.
Very strong arm. Can throw anywhere. Accurately?
Traylon Burks.
He's got a good deep. I think Burks
is a good buy right now.
Yes. Chig. And we got Tajay Spears on the up and up.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry's gone. They need to focus on the offensive line. If they can get him protection, which they are in a prime spot to take Joe Alt or the kid from Penn State. This offensive line, if you draft one guy, it could make a whole difference. Like I talked about.
Yeah, they just need another bookend. That's all they need.
I talked about your Giants. Like when Andrew Thomas went out, that offensive line
fell apart.
Like even Evan Neal is not good, and maybe they bump him into the inside, and he becomes something. But Andrew Thomas was ungood for a year and then became an All-Pro. He's one of the best left tackles in the game, and when he goes down, it makes a difference. And when he's in, that line is just solid.
Yeah,
and that's what Tennessee could do. They drafted a guy last year at the left guard. If they got that whole side going, Levis gets more time, which is what we all said Levis needs. He just needs time. Boom, we're liftoff.
Well, if you have the right time, you should go ahead and check out Manscaped. They have all the right tools for your special someone. Keeping yourself nice, silky smooth, as Doug would say. Try out their Lawnmower 5.0 wireless charger, weed whacker, nose and ear trimmer. They have all the stuff for your stuff, keeping it clean, crop reviver, crop cleanser, ball wash, ball deodorant, you name it, they've got it for all your grooming needs. Choose Manscaped. Use code DHH for 20% off at checkout. Manscaped, your balls will thank you for it. Tyler, we've gone through a lot in a little bit of time, and we do have a little bit of time left, and I would love to talk a little bit about the new, let's say the top three quarterbacks that are left in the top three quarterbacks in this draft coming up in April. Caleb Williams, Drake May, and now we're getting a lot of talk about Jaden Daniels. Where could you see some of these guys going? And with that landing spot, where do they kind of fit in on this ADP chart?
So it's landing spot dependent. And we talked about Fields going to Atlanta. I think a dream scenario for Atlanta would be Daniels sliding all the way down to them at 8.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Atlanta.
A more versatile style of QB.
I would not be shocked if Atlanta trades up to 3 with the Patriots to take a Daniels or May. It all depends on what they're thinking. Atlanta's going to be interesting. Like there's a couple teams that have some quarterback controversy or scenarios like Denver. We talked about with Sean Payton. Washington has an opening. We all know Chicago has some choices.
It seems like the second, third, and the second and third pick are definitely going to go take a quarterback.
So for me, Caleb Williams, we're looking at around quarterback 8 is where I would maybe slide him in.
Okay.
I'd put him ahead of Dak.
Yep.
Now the question is Anthony Richardson, who was 101 last year, who showed a very promising young career, who's built like a damn tank and has an arm. I think he's got better arm power than Caleb Williams. Honestly, I think I would give up Williams to get Richardson plus. Because the
you
hype
give up the 101 for Richardson plus?
Yes, because the hype is so much right now. And we've seen what happened with Trevor Lawrence.
Or Bryce Young.
Bryce Young didn't have this crazy
I'm
hype.
sure there's plenty of people that listen to this show and they're like, okay, Bryce Young, 101 in my rookie draft, no problem.
I took him
And
at 103 in places, and
it's
I
year
hate
after
myself.
year, we see these number one prospects that get drafted in the NFL that take at least a year to develop. And if not, they start falling down this high ladder of dynasty royalty, and
No,
slowly but surely are moving outside of the top 12 more often than not.
it's scenario. Like, we should have seen this with Bryce Young. The second Frank Reich took him. Frank Reich, we saw him fail with Carson Wentz. We saw him fail with Matt Ryan. And why did we think Bryce Young was going to do anything with Frank Reich when
He was the reason why Andrew Luck went away anyway, right?
Like, the thing is, like, Frank Reich was not a good head coach. Now he's with the Panthers, and he's going to go through OC, and that is a career killer. We saw Anthony Richardson go with a rookie head coach, and all of a sudden, we knew that offense fit him. That's why Richardson went 101 in a lot of places, 102, because of the offense. And I think we need to realize that more than anything.
The connection between offensive play caller, offensive coordinator, and starting young rookie quarterbacks is key for Dynasty.
That is why Washington, if they got Ben Johnson, if they were to have, we're looking at that landing spot as a prime spot for a player, because the offense is going to be in stone for years, because Ben Johnson's a great play caller. Maybe he's not a good head coach, but since he's a good play caller, that offense is in there. Like, that's there. They can't, like, the OC's not leaving for a head coaching job. It's there. He's the head coach. That's why that was great. With Chicago and Caleb Williams, are we looking at just a rotation? Because their head coach might not be there next year. If this team fails again, Caleb Williams could be looking at another OC. We saw Caleb Williams kind of trip a little bit in the season against good teams this college season. He's got all the talent in the world. Caleb Williams is a very ultra-talented player. He's Mahomes-esque. But if he keeps going through offensive system, what are we running into? Are we running into another Bryce Young where it's like, okay, yeah, he's got all the tools, but mentally, can he handle all these changes over and over and over again? Patriots, it depends on who they bring in as an OC, if he's any good. I worry about that. They don't have weapons.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it. And I think that's what Mac Jones walked into. They really didn't have too many weapons there in the receiving game. We all know N'Keal Harry wasn't it. As many times they tried to trot him out there, and then they just plug and played like Devontae Parker, and Nelson Aguilar was there for a year, and so on and so forth. I think whoever lands in New England, which I think it might be Jaden Daniels.
Please, God, don't be Marvin Harrison. Don't.
No, I don't think they go that route. I really don't.
What if they trade for Fields and take Marvin Harrison?
Now that is a smart move.
The hardest part with New England will be getting Bill Belichick out of our minds, because this is going to be a whole different team.
But not so much. Jared Mayo was there the whole time, and then I just read that they whatchamacallit, they gave the assistant offensive coordinator like a bump to offensive coordinator. I think that happened. No. Not so sure about that. Might not be factually correct, but
I just think that
we're
gonna have that in our head. We're gonna have Bill Belichick's team in our head for New England for at least 2 years, just because we hear New England, it's like, oh, that tough nose type team. Brady was on Pat McAfee today, and I heard him talk about Jerome Mayo and how he's more of a leader of men, and how he's a players type coach. He's a great captain. He could be more of a DeMeco Ryans type player.
I don't mind Jaden Daniels landing in New England, and because he can run the ball, we know that. Yeah, he's versatile. He's a little smaller, but he's versatile. And that's what I like. And Drake May, he's fast, but I'm not sure he's that type of quarterback.
Drake May needs
a pocket.
He needs an offensive line. Drake May, you're going to be shocked with his 40. He's going to run fast. He's a superior athlete.
He may be the quarterback that hits the 4.4 this year.
He's got a rocket arm, and he can run. So I think all three of these quarterbacks are going to be fine. I would say I'm going to put May around quarterback 15, right behind Purdy, probably where he's at in DLF.
Okay.
I mean, you're not giving up 102, 103 for Jared Goff. You could get Goff for a little cheaper. I'd say 105, 106 for Goff. Let me correct that. Brock Bowers for Goff right now would be a fair deal. And I think if you're quarterback needy, yeah, 100%. Yeah, so these rookies coming in, we're going to see their landing spot. My big player, because there's always one quarterback that comes out of nowhere. If J.J. McCarthy or Penix, because I'm going to put him in.
Penix was really, because his stat-wise,
Penix's health came up clean. That was the biggest worry.
Mm-hmm.
So his health came up clean, and if he falls a second to a team like Atlanta or something like that, yeah, Penix is going to be a good deal in Superflex leagues. We saw it with Josh Allen. We see it every year. J.J. McCarthy is going to be my guy that I would like to have sit at least a year or two, and he could be a mid-second round pick, early second-round pick in rookie drafts.
He's someone that I could see like landing in Vegas.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting offseason with the quarterbacks. There's going to be a lot of movement. We saw Rodgers last year move teams. We saw Carr get traded to a different team.
We saw Trey Lance lose his spot,
fall apart. We saw Brock Purdy rise in value. We saw Jordan Love go insane in value. We saw Kyler Murray resurge up his career when we all thought he could be toast. And Trevor Lawrence pretty much fall off the face of the earth, like ups and downs. Matt Stafford, when we all thought he could retire, he's now got 3 years in the tank, it seems.
Not so sure about the 3 years. Maybe 2. Maybe.
I mean,
at least one more, maybe.
We did this with Brady. Whenever you just, because we see it with Jason Kelce. This is going to be my last thing for the podcast. We saw it with Jason Kelce, and if you listen to their podcast, you see it. It's tough to leave the game because it's all you know. This is all you do. And even with family, he came back last year, like he even stated like he got depressed thinking about the offseason and not playing football because he doesn't have his teammates. He doesn't have the locker room anymore. And that part would leave a massive, massive hole. And it would, like, he broke down on his podcast just thinking about it. Like, these players love the game. This was their whole life for so many years. And especially at quarterback, if you're able to keep playing at a high level, why not? And you're okay with your family. Your kids can see your dad growing up playing quarterback. We saw Joe Flacco talking about how his kid only got to see him in the Jets because he's old enough now to see him with the Browns. And when he was with the Jets, he wasn't successful. And his kid's like, "Dad, you were not good." Now he's showing like he is good. Like Joe Flacco mentioned that, like, it's fun to have your kids watch you and know what's going on instead of them being like infants and not knowing how you're playing. We're going to see quarterbacks, I feel, that are in their prime still play to 40.
Yeah. Joe
like
Flacco, perfect.
Kirk Cousins could play till he's 40. Like, the way Kirk Cousins is built, I would not be shocked he plays till
Russell
40.
Wilson, not playing until he's 40.
Russell Wilson, if we see Russ still bad this year.
Deshaun Watson, not playing until he's 30.
Deshaun Watson.
He may not get back on the field until he's 30 years old, the way he comes on and off and on.
Deshaun Watson is going to be playing. Like, I'm telling you,
he could be that candidate in the middle of the pack at QB 16 that could just be like, damn it, we knew, we just didn't want to take the risk.
The
risk is too it's not rewarding enough for me.
So the thing with Deshaun Watson that will always be there is we saw him as a top 5 stud young quarterback. We saw him CJ Stroud-esque. We saw that. And he was a poster boy. And, we thought he did nothing wrong. And what he did allegedly was not good. It was a bad thing.
Almost a career killer.
That is there. No matter how much you say, I don't even think about it when it comes to Dynasty, you do. It's baked in his price.
Because we play the long game in Dynasty.
It will always be baked in his price. The contract. Now, if this contract was with anybody else, you'd be like, hell yes, this is a quarterback I can get behind because he ain't going anywhere. There's no way they're getting away from this contract, and that's true. The thing is, nobody wants him because of what happened off the field. If that didn't happen and he's still playing the way it is, Deshaun Watson would be right next to Dak. It would be high. And the only reason why he's this low, especially with this Browns offense that saw with Flacco, is because of what happened off the field. Now, if you listen to reporters, anything with Cleveland, especially somebody who was a sideline person with the Texans, and she was on Pat McAfee. Deshaun Watson played through injuries with Houston. He played with an torn ACL. He played with multiple injuries in Clemson. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did. And this is what we saw this year. He tried to play through injury. He tried to tough it out. And all we could see is this guy sucks because of what happened off the field. We don't see him in the same light anymore.
So you're saying there is a chance where he comes out in the 2024 season and outproduces his ADP
10,000%.
It makes a lot of sense, and after more research, I may go out there and get at least one share, just so I can say we were right back in January.
We all right. The Tyreek Hill stuff. Everybody was writing him off for dead because we were all 100% sure he hit his kid or hit his wife or whatever it was. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's dead to me." I got him for seconds everywhere.
Adrian Peterson.
Did not. Adrian Peterson. But Tyreek Hill, nobody wanted him. Oh, I can't stand this. His value completely fell off, and people are like, his value's done. He's done. He's always done. He's going to get cut. That's it. Look what happened. Now he's the best receiver in the NFL. Like, I'm not saying don't overlook what he did. I'm saying don't bake it into Dynasty. This is a game of a game. If you don't want to cheer for him in real life, I'm okay with that because that's fine with me.
Just don't overlook his value.
But if you're looking,
his physicality and his football skill.
If you're looking for an asset like a Baker Mayfield type player that can go from quarterback 20, because I guarantee there's some leagues where Deshaun Watson's quarterback 20 in drafts.
Fair.
If you can go get him at that price, he has a chance to be a top 12 quarterback because he's still young enough. He's still got talent and he's still got players around him. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. And I think that is going to wrap it up this evening, Tyler. For all of you that are listening, thank you again for tuning in to the Dynasty Happy Hour every Tuesday at 9/8 Eastern. Doug, type in how you want it to leave the show. Oh, that's the show sheet. Never mind.
That's James reading from the teleprompter. Everybody.
Yeah, that's the teleprompter. No, thank you. Big shout out to our sponsors, Manscaped. Use code DHH, get 20% off. Undercode DHH, $100 matched. And don't forget about Trophy Smack. Once again, use code DHH Ring for that $60 championship ring for free. And check out our friends at dynastynerds.com. They've got great things going on over there. And this is where we watch our film. The Prospect Film Room is in full swing. Go in out there, check out everything they have to offer over at dynastynerds.com. For Tyler and myself, thank you again, and we'll be back next week, hopefully with Doug, so I don't have to sit here and do this hosting thing and mess up all the sponsors slots. Yeah, that's it.
Bye.